Dear listener, dreamers and explorers, tonight we drift together into the silent, icy reaches of history, where the threads of memory and mystery weave the tale of the embroidered tapestry, the Lost Franklin expedition. As you settle in, let the gentle cadence of this story wrap around you, as soft and intricate as a tapestry's embroidered edge. Imagine candlelight flickering on maps, snow drifting over deserted decks, and the delicate hands that stitched secrets into silk. Each chapter is a gentle invitation to wander through frozen seas, forgotten letters, and the resilience of hope woven into every thread. Before we begin, I invite you to support our growing bedtime documentary family. Please like this video, subscribe for more nightly journeys into wonder, and leave a comment sharing your favorite moment or question. Now, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let us begin our journey into the heart of the Arctic and the mysteries embroidered within. In the quiet glow of a Victorian evening, gaslights flicker to life along the cobbled streets. The air shimmers with expectation as newsboys weave between horse-drawn carriages, their voices ringing with the latest headlines about distant Arctic explorers. Inside homes are filled with the warmth of hearths and the hum of conversation. A sense of excitement runs through the city. Adventure is in the air, and all eyes turn northward. In a stately drawing room, Lady Jane Franklin sits. At her embroidery table, delicate threads spill through her gentle fingers, each stitch a silent prayer for her husband, Sir John Franklin, and the men who follow him into the ice. Children gather around their elders, listening in rapt attention as tales of lost ships and mysterious Arctic passages are whispered by the fire. Each story weaves hope with dread, adventure with the ache of uncertainty. Young girls practice their own embroidery, tiny hands imitating Lady Jane's skill. Each needlepoint becomes a daydream, faraway ships, endless ice, and heroes who might someday return. Beyond the windows, maps of the world hang in dimly lit parlors. The elusive Northwest Passage draws the curiosity of an entire nation, its secrets still locked beneath a shroud of snow and silence. In the bustling docks, sailors and officers prepare the Erebus and the Terror. Provisions are stacked, hopes are high, and promises woven into the very fabric of handkerchiefs and sashes are exchanged. Loved ones gather to bid farewell. Some hold back tears, others offer brave smiles. The final hugs and whispered blessings linger long after the ships vanish from view. Among the precious gifts traded are embroidered handkerchiefs, their initials and motifs, tokens of love, hope, and remembrance. They will be tucked close to the hearts of those who journey into the unknown. As the Erebus and Terror slip into the morning fog, those left behind hold their breath and clutch their embroidered treasures. The last glance back is heavy with longing, the tapestry of fate now unraveling, stitch by silent stitch. So thank you for lending your heart and your imagination to this journey. Before you drift into dreams, know that your support is deeply appreciated. Please like this video if you've enjoyed our story. Subscribe to join our gentle community of bedtime explorers, and leave a comment with your thoughts or favorite moments. Together, we can keep weaving stories that soothe, inspire, and connect us one night at a time. The ships Erebus and Terror, majestic and sturdy, glide silently into a world of shifting fog. The air is crisp, laced with the temps of salt and ice, as the familiar shores of home slip beyond sight and memory. Below deck, sailors pause in their work to write letters home. Each word is carefully chosen, each line a fragile thread of connection to loved ones left behind. Every thought stitched with hope. The hulls groan as the first ice presses close. Frost creeps up the beams, and sharp crystals begin to form on every surface, delicate and relentless nature's embroidery at work. Day by day, the frost thickens, cloaking the portholes in silvery patterns. It becomes a daily ritual to scrape away the cold lace, revealing only more swirling mists beyond. In the dim light, stories are shared. Laughter and memories echo through the wooden corridors, binding the men together in fellowship. Each tale told is another stitch, tightening the bonds of their chosen family. A sailor opens his hand-stitched journal, its cloth cover soft with use. He records observations, strange birds, ice flows, the eerie silence of this new world. His words and his stitches tell parallel stories. The midnight sun hovers, bathing the frozen sea in an endless, haunting glow. Shadows stretch and blend until time loses its meaning. The landscape locked between waking and dreaming. Far above, a flock of birds wheels through the sky, a fleeting sign of life. Their cries pierce the silence, a reminder that the world is still turning somewhere far away. The sea grows quiet and solemn. The gentle slap of water on the hull gives way to deep silence, broken only by the groan of ice and the distant calls of unseen creatures. Inside, the crew passed the long hours by crafting small embroidered motif swales, icebergs, ship sand, scraps of cloth. These tiny works become talismans, tokens of home, and hopes for safe return. Horizon, the sun's last rays glint off endless sheets of white as the crew prepares for the long, frozen months ahead. Within the wooden hull, the creak and groan of timber echo in the stillness as the frigid air presses against every joint. The familiar sounds of home are replaced by the persistent, unsettling song of ice and wood. Cold fingers mend uniforms, patching sleeves and elbows with colorful threads. Embroidered shapes, initials, hearts, and lucky charms bring a touch of warmth to the scratchy wool, each stitch a prayer against the chill. Gathered by lantern glow, the crew shares stories of home. Laughter is quiet, thoughtful. Memories flicker in the lamplight, casting brief shadows of summer fields and loved ones far away. Outside, the northern lights swirl in silent brilliance above the masts. Curtains of green and violet shimmer across the sky, painting the ice in magical, fleeting colors that remind the men of the world beyond the cold. Rations are divided with careful hands. Each portion, no matter how small, is met with gratitude and solemnity. The ritual of sharing binds the crew together in their living tapestry. In a dark corner, the ship's cat curls tightly in a threadbare blanket. Her gentle purring becomes a lullaby, a small comfort in the vastness of the Arctic. Night, morning, brings a new pattern to the glass's crystals, forming intricate lacework across every window. The crew marvels at nature's delicate embroidery, a frozen reminder of beauty in adversity. Some men begin to weaken, their gums swollen, their steps slow. The first signs of scurvy are met with worry and whispered prayers as the crew tends to each other with growing concern. A young sailor, unable to speak his fears aloud, stitches a secret message into his scarf. Each letter is a wish, each not a hope for spring, for rescue, and for the promise of home. In the hush of the frozen night, sailors hunch over scraps of paper. The gentle scratching of quill on parchment is their only link to a world left behind. Each letter begins with hope, each line heavy with longing. Feelings too deep for words are stitched in with every sentence. Gentle hands trace the shape of distant faces in memory, filling each letter with fragments of laughter, sunlight, and dreams. At the edge of a page, a sailor adds tiny stitches a border of blue and red, like the embroidery his mother once taught him. These small, secret marks carry a comfort words cannot. Far away, Lady Jane Franklin sits by lamplight. She reads and rereads old letters, searching for hidden meanings, hoping for any sign that her husband and his men are safe. Some letters are sealed with careful hands, bearing the insignia of the expedition, a promise meant to last through months of snow and silence. In London, unopened post gathers dust on mantelpieces. The world waits, caught between fear and hope. Ink smudges mingle with salt from tears, blurring sentences, blending hopes and fears into one. The need to connect, to be remembered, presses hard against each sailor's heart. Some letters, tucked too hastily into pockets, are lost to the snow. They vanish beneath the drifts, their messages frozen and unread, waiting for spring or discovery. Within each missive is a thread of reunion, a wish, a promise, a silent vow to return. Their words are woven with the hope of one day coming home. A child far away, clutching an embroidered bookmark, waits by the window. She dreams of stories, of return, and of the day a letter from the Arctic finds its way home. In the flickering lantern light, the officers unfurl great, creased maps across the captain's table. The parchment smells of ink and salt, its edges curling from cold and constant use. Somewhere between the blue of sea and the white of endless ice, secret routes are traced with colored threads, red for hope, blue for caution, gold for the uncharted, a tapestry of possibility woven across the Arctic. Calloused fingers move slowly over the map, pausing on names familiar and strange. Each point touched is both a destination and a memory, a moment imagined in warmth, mapped now in frost. Brass pins mark the ship's progress and peril. Some mark places seen, others places only guessed at, where legends dwell and maps end. Plans are whispered in the hush. Every man leans in, breath steaming in the cold, while the hush of the ice outside seeps into every careful word. The navigator runs his thumb over an embroidered compass, rose-stitched by his sister before he left home. Its colors have faded, but the thread is strong, pointing north even in the shadows. A hope for thaw, for open water, is stitched into a piece of linen cloth. The men pass this small tapestry hand to hand, a lucky charm among them. Each detail, every inlet bay and danger, even a missing stitch could mean the difference between safety and being lost forever. The tapestry map becomes a living record of their choices. As days pass, new stitches are added. Old ones, traced and remembered, mark the journey so far. With a deep breath, the officers plot a course into the unknown, trusting their maps, their stitches, and each other. The world beyond the hull is vast, but their hope is carefully, courageously woven. The silence is shattered by the sudden, sharp crack of shifting ice. It echoes through the frozen stillness, making hearts jump and reminding the crew that nature's hand is never far. On the snow, shadows stretch and shiver beneath the wavering light. The polar night is long, and the men sometimes glimpse movement just at the edge of sight, real or imagined. No one can be sure. Worry takes root in the captain's eyes, his confidence shaken as the signs pile up. Every strange sound, every odd gust of wind is studied with growing unease. Some sailors turn to old superstitions, embroidered talismans, little scraps of cloth stitched with symbols from Homer tucked secretly into their coat pockets. The act of sewing is its own silent prayer. A black raven appears, circling overhead in the pale daylight. The crew stands, silent, watching its slow, unhurried flight. To some, it is a warning. To others, perhaps a sign of guidance. The first true snowstorm of the season descends, blurring the line between sky and land. Visibility vanishes. The world shrinks to the ring of lantern light. That night, a sailor wakes from a nightmare, breathless and cold. He cannot recall the dream, only the feeling of being chased by something vast and unseen. Outside, a small group finds bones half buried in the snow, remnants of an animal long gone. They stare in silence, pondering the meaning, the fate, and their own mortality. Superstitions ripple quietly among the crew. Old tales are whispered in the dark, warnings passed from bunk to bunk. A red thread is knotted around one wrist, a charm against the unknown. Prayers are stitched carefully into the edge of a handkerchief, across a name, a plea for mercy. Each man clings to his own small comfort, searching for protection as the signs grow harder to ignore. Scene 1. The world changes overnight. The Erebus and Terror, once afloat and restless, are now gripped by a vast expanse of solid ice. The ships no longer sway. Instead, they groan under the relentless pressure, held fast by the frozen sea. Desperate, the crew attempts to break free. Heavy tools ring out in the brittle air as men chip and hack at the ice. But the floes are thick and unyielding, a barrier not easily broken. The wood splinters and shudders. Every sharp, splintering sound tells the men just how small and fragile their vessels are compared to the endless, crushing power of the Arctic. Snow falls heavier each day, swallowing decks, ropes, and barrels. Soon, only the masts and rigging poke through the endless white, ghostly shapes beneath a pale sky. Isolation settles over the crew. The outside world is lost beneath miles of snow and ice. In their minds, even time seems to freeze, to fend off the cold, embroidered mittens. Our past from hand to hand, tiny pieces of home, stitched with care before departure. Each mitten is a secret promise. You are remembered. You are loved. Sentries stand on the ice, watching for movement, listening for sounds beyond the wind. The silence is both a shield and a warning, amplifying every heartbeat. At night, the haunting howl of wolves drifts across the snow. The sound is eerie, wild, and impossibly distant, a reminder that life endures in even the harshest places. The first serious illness claims a man. The crew gathers in sorrow, their unity tested by grief and fear. The long winter is only just beginning. In the quiet after, the captain fingers his embroidered epaulette, the gold thread dulled by frost. It is a symbol of duty, of hope, and of the resolve to endure, no matter how deep the winter may grow. Tracks appear in the snow, leading away from the ship's narrow, wavering trails that vanish into the endless white. Each step marks a search for answers, for food, or simply for hope beyond the horizon. Snowdrifts gather and shift, hiding secrets beneath their cold embrace. Boots crunch softly, leaving patterns that the wind will soon erase. A lone glove is found, half buried beneath a drift. Inside, initials are stitched in careful, fading thread, a reminder of the person it belonged to, and of the hands now empty. In the shifting light, shadows flicker at the edges of vision. The crew glances over their shoulders, uncertain what is real and what is only the mind's creation in the silence. Wind sculpts the snow into strange shapes, ice sculptures, twisting and spiraling in the dusk. The landscape becomes a gallery, both beautiful and strange. Sometimes at night, strange sounds echo across the ice. The men hold their breath, listening to the creak of timber, the distant howl, or perhaps the memory of voices left behind. Search parties venture farther from the ships in search of fresh water, probing cracks in the ice, always wary, always watchful for signs of danger or discovery. One sailor pulls a handkerchief from his coat. At its corner, a coded message is embroidered in tiny stitches. Only a trusted friend would understand an unspoken plan, a secret hope. Hope flares, even in the smallest of moments. A distant lamp glimmers as dusk falls, and the men guide one another home, holding lanterns high against the storm. Each lantern, each stitch, each set of tracks is a message left in the snow. Even in the Arctic's deep silence, the desire to be found, to be remembered, endures, glowing softly against the dark. A heavy silence falls over the ship as a fever tightens its grip on one of the crew. His breaths are shallow, his cheeks flushed against the chill. Others gather close, faces drawn and fearful. The ship's doctor tends to the ill man, his hands steady but his eyes betraying worry. He murmurs quiet words, mixing hope with science. But in the Arctic, both are fragile. Prayers are whispered in corners and beneath blankets. Faith, once a comfort, now becomes an anchor as the crew faces the growing darkness together. On a narrow shelf, an embroidered mourning ribbon is quietly prepared. Black silk with golden thread, each stitch is a tribute, a silent act of love. In the midst of sorrow, the day of the funeral arrives. The men dress in their best, standing shoulder to shoulder on the ice. The world is achingly white, the sky the color of slate. A tin whistle plays a slow, mournful tune, final farewell. Carried on the wind, the notes are thin and trembling, vanishing almost before they are heard. Friends gather close, sharing memories of laughter and courage, of stories told in the safety of the ship's glow. Their voices are soft, carried away by the Arctic air. A silent procession winds across the snow, each man leaving a print in the frost, each step a measure of respect and loss. A simple wooden cross is placed in the ice, bound with a length of golden embroidery thread. The snow drifts around it, a gentle shroud for a comrade gone. As the men return to the ship, the emptiness left behind is heavy. Yet in every stitch, every shared story, the memory of the lost endures, woven quietly into the tapestry of those who remain. On the shimmering edge of the horizon, distant figures appear small against the blinding white. The crew watches from the deck, breath caught as the shapes move closer with patient, steady steps. For days, the only signs of life have been wind and ice. Now, these new arrivals bring a mixture of relief and uncertainty, a reminder that the Arctic is never truly empty. First contact is cautious. The explorers step onto the ice, raising hands in peace. The Inuit answer with watchful silence, their movements careful and dignified. Gifts are exchanged on the snow. The crew offers beads and trinkets from England. In return, the Inuit present finely beaded work, shimmering with color-tiny treasures. Stitched with skill and pride. Scene 5. Around a crackling fire, warmth and stories are shared. Words are few, but gestures bridge the gaps. Laughter softens the ice, and a fragile trust begins to grow. The crew marvels at the Inuit clothing parkas and mittens intricately embroidered with patterns inspired by animals and seasons. These are more than garments. They are art and wisdom sewn into every seam. Language falters, but the will to connect is strong. Simple words and drawings help, while the eyes and hands say the rest. A shared meal of seal meat offers unexpected comfort. The unfamiliar taste is grounding, a reminder that survival here is possible if one learns to listen and adapt. Inuit guides teach the explorers about Arctic survival, how to read the land, how to build shelter, how to keep moving when the world stands still. Knowledge is offered as a gift, unspoken yet profound. As the visit ends, hands are clasped and new stitches of hope are formed. The explorers return to their ships carrying not just food, but wisdom and the promise that even in the deepest winter, friendship can be found. Days drift into weeks, and the Arctic seasons pass in slow procession. Time stretches and folds like fabric, each dawn and dusk, another thread woven into the lives aboard the frozen ships. With the first hint of spring, sunlight glimmers faintly on the snow. In the cabin, a sailor embroiders the sun's return on a scrap of linen golden threads to mark the changing season and the hope that rides with it. As ice cracks and melts, for a moment the world feels lighter. Water trickles where once there was only silence. The crew shares cautious smiles, spirits lifted by nature's promise of reprieve. Plans are whispered and reshaped. Some dream of pressing onward, of completing the passage, while others yearn only for home. Each voice is heard, every fear and hope sewn into their future. A new tapestry is begun, its patterns less certain, more improvisational. Each sailor adds a unique stitch, a snowflake, a sunbeam, a memory of laughter or loss. As days pass, memories become embroidery. The tapestry grows heavier, layered with stories, the warmth of a friend's hand, the sting of a loss, the quiet joy of survival. The ship's timbers creak as the thaw sets in. Some repairs are needed, and the men use colorful threads to bind and reinforce the worn edges, patching holes with fragments of cloth from home. In those brief, bright days, hope is kindled anew. The crew gathers on deck, faces to the sun, savoring its warmth as if storing it for the cold nights still to come. Repairs are made not just to the ship, but to spirits. Each patch, each thread, is a silent vow to endure, to carry on together. By season's end, the tapestry is a rainbow against the white. It is a living document, each stitch a testament to their will to survive, to remember, and to hope. The time comes when hope of escape by sea fades. The decision is made. Erebus and Terror must be abandoned. Silence follows the order, heavy and final. The men gather only the barest essentials: journals, letters, scraps of embroidery, and small keepsakes are tucked into their packs, reminders of identity and home. In a world of endless white, each man's heart is heavy as he looks back at the ships, their masts locked in ice, once proud and now silent monuments to their voyage. Hushed voices fill the morning air. Some speak words of encouragement, others only murmur silent prayers as they shoulder sledges and supplies. With care, they secure journals and embroidery, wrapping them against the cold. These are treasures, more precious than gold, to be carried through hardship and uncertainty. Sledges creak under the weight of food, supplies, and hope. Ropes bite into hands already numbed by the cold. The line of men stretches across the snow, each step an act of courage. Leather snowshoes are laced tight. The first steps are awkward, but soon they find a rhythm, one foot after another, moving forward. Together, before departing, a whispered prayer is spoken over the tapestry, now folded and hidden in a pack. The men draw strength from its stitches, each thread a promise of endurance. The trek begins. The world behind is swallowed by fog and snow. The ships, once a beacon, fade into ghostly silhouettes. With one last look back, the men press onward. Their path is uncertain, but every step is driven by hope, a retreat, not of defeat, but of resilience, woven from all they have carried and all they have endured. As days stretch into weeks, the rations dwindle. Each man feels the pang of hunger, deep in his bones a hollow ache that gnaws at body and spirit. The cold is relentless, biting through layers of wool and fur. Even the smallest gust of wind stings the skin, and the world narrows to the rhythm of breath and footstep. Exhaustion becomes constant. Muscles burn and minds wander in the monotony of the march. The men share glances of encouragement, their voices growing softer with each passing day. In the rare moments of rest, memories of home are quietly exchanged. Gentle laughter breaks through the gloom as stories of mothers, sweethearts, and childhood warmth are told beneath the open sky. Embroidered keepsakes are clutched tightly, scarves, handkerchiefs, and mittens bearing the careful stitches of loved ones. Their colors and patterns offer comfort against the white emptiness. Snowstorms descend with little warning, halting all movement. The men huddle together, their world reduced to a tent of bodies and blankets, their breaths clouding in the darkness. Spirits falter in the long waits, whispers of doubt and fear curl in the dark. Yet a touch, a glance, a shared morsel of food helps rekindle the will to endure. Gloves and scarves begin to unravel. Threads loosen, patches wear thin. Still, the men stitch and mend with numb fingers, each repair an act of hope. Desperation grows with each lost meal. The silence is punctuated only by the sound of snow and the occasional sob, private and hidden from the rest. Even in the bleakest hour, a sailor pulls a needle from his pocket and makes one last stitch on his scarf. Simple design, a secret wish for survival, and a prayer that spring will come again. Night deepens, and the Arctic cold grows sharper. In their uneasy dreams, the men see strange vision shapes moving through the ice, faces flickering at the edge of sleep. Whispers seem to travel on the wind, curling through tents and blankets. Some say they hear their loved ones' voices, calling softly, comforting and sorrowful. Dreams come heavy. Sometimes the men dream of blazing hearths and summer sun, sometimes of icy darkness and distant cries. Each dream leaves its mark, blurring the line between memory and reality. On the snow, ghostly shapes appears, sometimes just tricks of the moonlight, sometimes the play of shadow and drift. The men avert their eyes, uncertain what is real. Embroidered pieces take on new meaning, a simple snowflake or animal shape, stitched in quiet moments, becomes a symbol, ward against fear, a reminder of protection. When the wind howls, some swear they hear the lost those who have already perished, their voices rising with the gale. It is a comfort and a warning, all at once. The feeling of being watched never fully leaves. Even in silence, the men sense the presence of something greater, memory, or spirit moving unseen across the endless white. To keep courage alive, old stories are retold around the lantern. Tales of home and folklore mingle with new legends forged by hardship and survival. By candlelight, a sailor stitches a final blessing into a handkerchief, tiny crosses, initials, a word for luck. The ritual soothes his heart, giving him something solid to hold in the night. The tapestry, too, holds these moments. Its threads shimmer faintly in the moonlight, as if lit from within. Each stitch holds a memory, a wish, and the faint, haunting touch of spirits on the ice. The cold becomes so fierce that ink itself freezes in the bottle. Fingers numb, the captain struggles to write, breath clouding above the page as he records what may be his last thoughts. He gently touches the embroidered corners of his journal. Gift from Lady Jane. Each flower and letter in the thread holds a memory, a reminder of love and duty far away. Words are chosen with care. The captain addresses messages to loved ones, to history, and to those who may one day find this fragile record among the snow and silence. A farewell is stitched into the journals, cover his initials, a ship and a date, threads trembling from cold hands. It is a final signature, a hope that the story will survive, even if he does not. The journal grows heavier with every entry. The weight is not in the paper or cloth, but in the history it holds, the laughter, the loss, the resolve of a crew whose fates hang in the balance. As the captain closes the book, he passes it to his most trusted companion. This, too, is a ritual, a small moment of faith, entrusting the story to hands steady enough to carry it forward. By candlelight, the men read over the last entries. In them, they see themselves reflected, their bravery and their longing, their hope that none will be forgotten. Each word and stitch is a reflection, a meditation on the journey. The crew faces forward, even as the past presses in around them. Hope for discovery lingers in every line. Perhaps one day these pages will be found. Perhaps their story will become part of something larger, something eternal. The last page is turned. The journal is closed and wrapped with care, ready to be hidden away, a testament, an offering, and a final act of love from a world slowly vanishing beneath the ice. Across the Arctic, wind sweeps patterns through the drifting snow swirls, ridges, and waves that shimmer under the pale light. The land itself is an endless canvas, each storm a new brushstroke. At dawn and dusk, the world glows with unexpected color. Pink, gold, and lavender hues paint the ice, fleeting and magical, as if the sky itself is a tapestry, unraveling thread by luminous thread. At night, the aurora borealis unfurls in ribbons of green and violet, lighting up the heavens. The crew stands silently beneath the display, hearts uplifted by the wild beauty shimmering above their trials. On the snow's surface, animal tracks appear, delicate prints of fox, hare, and ptarmigan. Each tells a story of quiet survival, a reminder that even in the coldest places, life finds a way to persist. The men marvel at the ingenuity of Inuit clothing, parkas edged with feathers and mittens lined with fur, embroidered with patterns. Learned from generations past, nature's bounty is transformed into art and protection. Snowdrifts pile and recede, shaped by wind into delicate, ephemeral sculptures. Each day brings a new arrangement, constantly shifting tapestry underfoot. A lone berry bush, its fruit glistening with frost, peeks through the ice. The red dots are startling in the whiteness, a sign of sustenance and tenacity, treasured as a miracle by the hungry men. The wind itself weaves through their camp, singing through the rigging and tents. Its low hum is both lullaby and warning, a voice older than memory. Amid the hardships, moments of quiet awe arrive. The men pause to watch snowflakes gather on mittens, or observe the crystalline patterns on the ship's railings, nature's embroidery, intricate and unique. In the heart of winter, the beauty of the Arctic endures. Each struggle is softened by the tapestry of sky, snow, and memory, minding the crew and us that even in adversity there is wonder to be found. Back in England, word of the lost expedition trickles in through newspapers and whispers. Each scrap of news carries the weight of hope, threading its way through anxious hearts and drawing rooms. Lady Jane Franklin receives fragments an old letter, a report from a distant ship, rumors carried on the cold wind of the North Atlantic. She reads each carefully, searching for signs, refusing to surrender hope. Throughout London, women sew mourning bands of black silk and silver thread. Their embroidery tells the world of their waiting, each stitch a silent prayer for a husband, a brother, a son. Rumors mingle with hope at tea tables and in markets. Some cling to stories of rescue and survival. Others steel themselves for the worst. Emotions swirl as restlessly as the sea. Candlelit vigils take place in parlor windows. Flames flicker in the night, casting soft light on faces filled with longing. The city holds its breath, waiting for news from the ice. The public is captivated. Engraved illustrations of the Arctic fill magazines and books, inspiring awe and empathy. Children gaze at the images, wide-eyed, imagining adventures and perils far beyond their reach. As weeks become months, the story grows into legend. The lost ships, the brave men, and the mystery that binds them become part of England's living memory. Children ask questions that cannot be answered. Mothers and fathers share only what they know, hope and love, stitched together, held close against the chill of uncertainty. Embroidered portraits hang in silent rooms, the threadwork faces watching over families left behind. Every detail, every color is chosen with love and longing. The world waits and watches. Hopes are carried home, quietly and fiercely woven. into every conversation, every stitch, every silent prayer, until the next letter or news arrives. The first rescue missions are launched. Ships and crews assemble at crowded docks, braving northern waters in hopes of finding any trace of the lost expedition. Every detail matters as the rescuers pack their supplies. Among provisions are embroidered flags and scarves, tokens of hope, meant to signal rescue or remembrance if found among the ice. Letters arrive, penned in Lady Franklin's determined hand, urging the Admiralty and adventurers alike to continue the search. Her words ignite a new sense of purpose, fueling more missions northward. The Arctic remains perilous. Thick ice closes in on rescue ships. Storms sweep across the sea without warning. Every journey into the unknown is a test of endurance and faith. Guided by old journals and scattered rumors, the searchers followed trails left by the lost messages in cairns, scraps of cloth, and faded footprints frozen in time. Hope flares when the first clues are discovered. A note hidden beneath a stone, a torn bit of cloth embroidered with a name, a familiar object half buried in snow. Personal effects are found: buttons, journals, and sometimes a mitten or scarf stitched with initials. Each recovered piece is a whisper from the vanished, proof they lived, hoped, and struggled on. Among the snow and rocks, searchers find embroidered items, scarves, handkerchiefs, fragments of clothing. Every stitch and color tells its own story, linking the living to the lost. Hope reignites as each new clue is brought aboard. Word travels home quickly, carrying a spark of comfort to waiting families and those still searching for truth. The rescuers press on, driven by love, loyalty, and a longing for answers. The Arctic holds her secrets close, but for those who keep searching, every stitch and step brings them closer to the men who vanished and the tapestry of their fate. In warm, lamplit igloos, Inuit elders gather with their families. The youngest listen wide-eyed as elders recount stories passed down, memories kept alive through words, song, and craft. They tell of strangers seen on the icemen who looked weary and lost, wrapped in strange coats, their faces pale and eyes searching for something just beyond the horizon. Drawings are etched in snow or on scraps of hide, ships locked in ice, tents pitched on frozen shores, and men moving slowly under burdens heavier than snow. Over time, Inuit and British stories blend. The Inuit remember men trading objects, knives, buttons, beads, for food and guidance, and in return, sharing news of the outside world. Elders describe the wandering mensome kind, some desperate. They recall the sadness in their eyes and the effort with which they tried to survive in a land that had become their final test. Objects are shown: beads and embroidery, bits of wool and silk, remnants of those strange visitors. Each artifact holds a memory, a story of exchange and fleeting connection. There is respect for the land in every word spoken. The elders remind their listeners that the Arctic is alive of force, both beautiful and unforgiving, demanding humility and knowledge to survive. Inuit and British exchange embroidered gifts, beaded pouches, fur mittens, and sewn bands cross cultures, stitched with mutual appreciation and the hope of understanding. Survival lessons are offered: how to build an igloo, hunt seal, read the signs in the snow. These gifts of knowledge are what kept some alive and what Inuit still pass on to their own. Each night, the stories are retold around the fire, the lost explorers remembered and honored in beadwork, song, and silence. In the tapestry of Arctic memory, their threads are never truly lost. In the shifting ice and wind-blown snow, searchers uncover the first relics, fragments of wood, bits of clothing, and broken tools half buried in the frost. A silk handkerchief, still bright with embroidered initials, emerges from the ice. The colors are faded, but the stitches are strong, carrying a name and a history across decades. Journals are found, pages brittle with cold, but ink still legible. Inside are sketches, accounts, and hopes, frozen in time, waiting for the world to hear them again. Buttons and small personal effects appear, scattered in the snow like breadcrumbs. Each piece is gently gathered, tagged, and wrapped, evidence that these men once stood where the snow now lies undisturbed. Relics tell their stories in silence. A broken pipe, a playing card, a child's drawing folded in a pocket, artifacts of hope, fear, and love clung to until the very end. Tapestry. Fragments are unearthed, tiny, intricate sections of embroidery cut from uniforms, scarves, and journals. Each thread is examined, studied for patterns and meaning. Historians and conservators work carefully, deciphering the stitches and fabric. What did this color mean? Was this motif a secret message, a comfort, or simply beauty in a barren place? The public marvels as discoveries are announced. Stories and images fill newspapers and drawing rooms. The world listens, hungry for connection and understanding. Museums prepare displays, lighting glass cases with gentle care. The artifacts are laid out with reverence, each a fragile bridge to the past, each a whisper from the Arctic silence. At last, the tapestry's secrets begin to be revealed. Each artifact, each stitch, helps unravel the mystery, letting the lost explorers speak again through the evidence left behind. As years pass, the story of the Franklin expedition grows larger than life. Around fires and in drawing rooms, legend takes hold, weaving history and rumor into a single enduring tale. Myths are embroidered onto banners, carried in parades and memorials. Artists and seamstresses use thread and color to retell the journey. Each motif a chapter, each stitch a question. Poets and writers find endless inspiration in the expedition's fate. New verses are published, stories spun, sometimes hopeful, sometimes tragic, always echoing the Arctic's haunting silence. The truth blurs as stories pass from mouth to mouth. Some say the men found paradise beyond the ice. Others imagine their souls forever wandering the white waste, searching for home. Unanswered questions gather like snowdrifts. What happened on those last days? Was there betrayal or only bravery? The unknown draws the curious ever closer. 80. Franklin's devotion is celebrated far and wide. Her tireless searching becomes the stuff of legend, her sorrow and hope stitched into the national memory. Memorials are unveiled in towns and cities, statues, plaques, embroidered banners fluttering in the wind. Crowds gather, mourning and honoring the lost together. Songs are sung, their melodies echoing through the years. Lullabies and ballads carry the story of the lost men, ensuring their names are not forgotten. Embroidered samplers with cryptic scenes find their way into parlors and collections. Some are said to hold secrets, clues, or even messages from the frozen north. The fascination never fades. The tapestry of myth and mystery grows richer with every retelling, a story that belongs not only to the past, but to everyone who still wonders and dreams. At last, the news sparks awe and longing across continents. Teams of underwater explorers prepare for their journey north. At cameras, lights, and careful hands are assembled to gently unlock secrets frozen for generations. As divers descend, beams of light reveal timbers preserved in icy silence. They move slowly, mindful of the ship's fragility, and soon uncover treasures. Sleeping in the cold dark, among the artifacts raised from the depths are preserved pieces of embroidered cloth. A scarf, a handkerchief, colors faded, but patterns still legible, tells a story of hands long gone. Meticulously, the explorers map the wreck site. Every object, every plank is catalogued and studied, each detail another thread in the unraveling of a centuries-old mystery. Journals, long feared lost, are recovered and read. Their words, clear after all these years, bring the voices of the past into the present, echoing in quiet museum halls. The world's attention returns to the lost expedition. Documentaries, articles, and news reports share the tale anew. Families who once waited in vain now find closure, their questions finally answered. In a quiet corner of the museum, a tapestry is carefully restored. Threads that had nearly vanished are rewoven, colors brightened, and patterns brought back to life for new generations to see. Even as old mysteries are solved, new ones appear. A message stitched in unfamiliar script, a tool with no known use, reminders that history is never fully finished. Discovery inspires fresh hope and curiosity. The cycle of loss and found continues, each generation adding new stitches to the tapestry of Arctic exploration and remembrance. In a quiet conservation studio, textile experts gather around a fragile tapestry rescued from the ice. Every movement is measured, every word a whisper of awe. Gloved hands gently smooth the fabric, revealing faded patterns and delicate stitches. Each thread is a clue, a voice from another time longing to be understood. Specialists lean close, searching for hidden messages. Tiny symbols, initials, and dates are woven throughout a secret language, preserved in color and form. With every magnified inspection, more history comes alive. Scenes of ships, birds, and stars tell a story of hardship, hope, and remembrance. Historians connect the techniques and patterns back to Lady Franklin and her circle. The stitches, though faded, speak of her care, her longing, and her unending faith. Some colors have dulled to gray and brown, but others remain surprisingly bright, a blue as deep as the sea, a gold that catches the studio's soft light. As news spreads of the tapestry's secrets, the public's curiosity grows. People gather for the unveiling, drawn by the power of something beautiful and true, rescued from silence. On the day of the exhibition, emotions run high. Visitors move quietly, some wiping away tears as they study each detail and try to imagine the hands that made them. Cameras flash, and reporters share the tapestry's story far and wide. For a moment, the voices of the past echo in the present, bridging centuries with every stitch. The tapestry inspires new generations, Children and artists sketch its designs, while families share the tale at bedtime, letting the fabric's gentle words speak across time and into dreams. In quiet homes across England, women gather in the soft light of afternoon. They sit in circles, their hands busy with thread and cloth, their voices low with stories and longing. Letters arrive from the frozen north, treasured and reread until the words are nearly memorized. Each letter is carefully folded, stored in small boxes alongside locks of hair and pressed flowers. Embroidery circles form, where friends and family stitch while sharing news, worry, and hope. Each piece of work is a silent tribute, a way to hold loved ones close when distance feels endless. Portraits of patients hang above mantelpieces, women, gazing from painted frames, their eyes reflecting courage, uncertainty, and unwavering love. Uncertainty is a constant companion. Days pass with no news, then weeks, then months. In the pause between letters, each woman must decide whether to fear, hope, or simply endure. Yet, hope is not easily put aside. With each new stitch, every flower, every ship, every monogram, a promise is made to keep faith, no matter the silence. Communities gather for support. At church or in parlors, they share food, prayers, and gentle reassurances. Together, their hope becomes stronger, a tapestry of connection across time and sorrow. Memorial tapestries are begun, honoring the men lost and the love that remains. Scenes of ships, waves, and distant stars fill the cloth, stitched in tears and in remembrance. Generation after generation, the stories of the women who waited are passed down. Their patience and strength become legend, woven into family histories and national memory. In every embroidered thread, a legacy endures. The women who waited are never forgotten, their quiet courage shining through each delicate stitch, their love forming the backbone of the tapestry's enduring tale. In schoolrooms warmed by coal fires, children listen to stories of the Franklin expedition. Their eyes widen as they imagine ships trapped in ice and explorers facing the unknown. When lessons end, the children gather colored threads and scraps of cloth. Their nimble fingers mimic what their mothers and grandmothers have done, stitching, sewing, and telling stories through art. Embroidery frames pass from hand to hand. Some children craft scenes of brave sailors, others of polar bears, whales, and swirling snow, each picture a dream, an echo of history. Teachers encourage curiosity. Lessons blend geography, adventure, and kindness as children share what they've learned, their voices bright with wonder. One afternoon, a girl discovers an old sampler in the Attica, faded cloth stitched with ships and stars by an ancestor who once waited for news from the Arctic. She brings it to school, sparking new inspiration. Imagination colors every thread. The children invent endings to the Franklin story, some joyful, some bittersweet. In their world, no mystery is too vast for hope. Questions abound. What happened to the men? Did they find their way home? The teacher answers as best she can, but encourages them to find their own answers in stitches and dreams. Side by side, children sew their own tapestries. Their work is bright and uneven, but full of heart. Teach, stitch, carrying the hope that stories once told will never truly end. At the end of term, the children's and ancestors' tapestries hang together in the classroom. Threads old and new meet, weaving a living history that spans generations. The tapestry is displayed with pride, a patchwork of adventure, memory, and imagination, a promise that the Franklin story and all its lessons will be carried forward. One child, one stitch at a time. In schoolrooms warmed by coal fires, children listen to stories of the Franklin expedition. Their eyes widen as they imagine ships trapped in ice and explorers facing the unknown. When lessons end, the children gather colored threads and scraps of cloth. Their nimble fingers mimic what their mothers and grandmothers have done, sketching, sewing, and telling stories through art. Embroidery frames pass from hand to hand. Some children craft scenes of brave sailors, others of polar bears, whales, and swirling snow, each picture a dream, an echo of history. Teachers encourage curiosity. Lessons blend geography, adventure, and kindness as children share what they've learned, their voices bright with wonder. One afternoon, a girl discovers an old sampler in the Attica, faded cloth stitched with ships and stars by an ancestor who once waited for news from the Arctic. She brings it to school, sparking new inspiration. Imagination colors every thread. The children invent endings to the Franklin story, some joyful, some bittersweet. In their world, no mystery is too vast for hope. Questions abound. What happened to the men? Did they find their way home? The teacher answers as best she can, but encourages them to find their own answers in stitches and dreams. Side by side, children sew their own tapestries. Their work is bright and uneven, but full of heart. Each stitch carrying the hope that stories, once told, will never truly end. At the end of term, the children's and ancestors' tapestries hang together in the classroom. Threads old and new meet, weaving a living history that spans generations. The tapestry is displayed with pride, a patchwork of adventure, memory, and imagination, a promise that the Franklin story and all its lessons will be carried forward. One child, one stitch at a time. At long last, the tapestry is ready for completion. The final section awaits its threads, the air in the sewing room filled with quiet reverence. One by one, hands old and young draw the needle through the cloth. Each stitch is slower now, every movement mindful of the journey that has come before. A dedication is sewn carefully into the border, names, dates, and a simple phrase, for those who journeyed into the unknown and for those who waited. Lady Franklin, her hair silvered with years, offers a final prayer as she knots her thread. Her eyes brim with both sorrow and gratitude. The tapestry's weight is felt by all present, not only the fabric, but the stories, hopes, and heartbreaks it holds. In the hush, each remembers someone lost, someone loved. The finished tapestry is unveiled to the public. People gather in silence and awe, moved by the colors and scenes, the ships, the ice, the faces gazing bravely forward. Tears are wiped away and smiles shared. The tapestry is more than art. It is a promise that no story is ever truly forgotten and no sacrifice goes unseen. Children and elders alike trace the threads with gentle fingers. Each panel brings back a memory, a lesson, a question, or a spark of inspiration. As the story is retold, the tapestry becomes a living symbol of endurance, a reminder that the journey continues in every heart, that remembers and wonders. In a quiet corner, Lady Franklin's initials are found, stitched in tiny, neat letters. The world moves on, but the promise to remember remains, woven through every thread, every time the story is told. The story of the Franklin expedition echoes long after the last ice melts. Its legacy shapes the world of exploration and the lives of those who came after. Navigators study new maps, inspired by the courage and failures of those who braved the Arctic first. Lessons learned from Erebus and Terror guide safer journeys into the unknown. In memorials across England and Canada, visitors pause to read the names of the lost. Statues stand in silent witness, their bronze faces turned north in honor and memory. The meaning of loss shifts over time. Once met with grief, it grows into understanding and respect for the hardships endured and the bonds formed by hope. In glass cases, embroidered handkerchiefs and journals rest beside charts and navigational tools. Threads once carried for comfort now tell stories for all who seek to remember. Families carry on traditions begun in uncertainty, gathering, telling stories, passing down embroidered pieces as heirlooms, their meanings deepening with each generation. New expeditions, driven by curiosity and the promise of discovery, set out with improved knowledge and better equipment. The Franklin tragedy reminds them to respect the land and its secrets. Children taught the story through bedtime tales and museum visits, learn not only of adventure, but also the value of perseverance, community, and remembrance. Women's voices, once only a whisper behind the scenes, are recognized for their strength. The role of Lady Franklin and others becomes part of the shared story, a testament to devotion and endurance. The tapestry's journey continues as it travels to new cities. Its colors inspire awe and reflection. Each person who pauses before it adds their own thread to the ever-growing legacy of the lost. As years pass, the Arctic itself begins to change. Climate shifts reveal landscapes long hidden beneath ice, awakening new mysteries and long-buried stories. Modern archaeologists venture north, equipped with technology unknown to men. Satellites and sonar pierce the ice, uncovering relics and secrets locked away for centuries. Delicate tapestry fibers, preserved in the frost, are examined under powerful microscopes. Researchers marvel at the skill and patience of those who stitched by candlelight in another age. Digital recreations of artifacts appear on screens around the world. The story of the lost expedition is now told in classrooms and living rooms from London to Labrador. Inuit descendants join the search, sharing generations of knowledge about the land. Their voices shape new understandings, and their ancestors' wisdom finds its place in the ongoing story. New finds emerge along the Northwest Passage tools, buttons, scraps of clothage, a fresh thread woven into the tapestry of discovery. Archaeologists revisit old sites, guided by notes and oral histories. Snow gives way to footprints, and footprints become stories retold for a new age. Young artists and scientists create their own embroidered works, stitching new stories, inspired by the lost and found, the known and the unknowable. The hope for further discoveries persists. Each expedition, each analysis, brings new questions and answers, reminding the world that the Arctic is still alive, still awakening. In the ever-changing ice and sky, the cycle of story and exploration continues. The tapestry is never truly finished. It grows richer and more complex, night after night, stitch after hopeful stitch. Night falls once more in the Arctic, soft and endless. The land is hushed beneath the pale glow of moon and stars, the world quiet except for the distant whisper of wind over snow. In a warmly lit museum room, the tapestry glows softly under lamps. Its colors, rich golds, deep blues, threads of frost and fire, invite visitors to pause, reflect, and dream. Some stand in silence, moved to quiet awe by the intricate details. Every stitch tells a story of courage and sorrow, of longing and hope. A visitor runs a gentle hand just above the fabric, not quite touching, tracing the journey with heart and imagination. History feels close, as if the past breathes just behind the threads. As eyes adjust to the gentle light, the tapestry seems to shimmer, as if holding secrets still. Threads glimmer in the darkness, each one a memory or wish. Some who gaze at the tapestry begin to dream. In their minds, the ice cracks, ships sail again. Voices of the lost rise in song, a lullaby, woven from longing and remembrance. The comfort of stories fills the room. The ancient need to share, to remember, and to hope passes from one generation to the next, undiminished by time or distance. In quiet corners, new embroideries begin. Young and old, inspired by the tale, pick up needles and colored thread, adding their voices to the tapestry of dreams. Outside, snow falls gently, cloaking the city in peace. The tapestry's tale settles into hearts, a gentle blessing for the night ahead. As sleep draws near, the story endures stitched, not just in cloth, but in memory, hope, and wonder. In every dream tonight, a new thread is woven, and the journey continues, soft as a lullaby, endless as the Arctic sky. Thank you, dear listeners, for joining me on this long, gentle journey through ice and time. As our story draws to a close tonight, I hope you find comfort in the threads we've woven together, threads of history, mystery, and hope that now rest quietly with you wherever you may be. Storytelling, like embroidery, is made of many small moments, tiny stitches of memory and feeling that connect us across oceans and generations. By listening, imagining, and wondering, you've helped bring these lost voices and distant worlds back into the gentle light. Your presence here has been a part of our tapestry, and for that, I am deeply grateful. The Franklin expedition's tale is not just one of hardship, but of connection between explorers and families, between past and present, between hearts that hope and hands that remember. Tonight, as you settle in for sleep, may the images of the Arctic's beauty, the courage of those who braved the unknown, and the warmth of every cherished memory fill your dreams. If you've enjoyed this bedtime journey, I invite you to gently tap the like button, subscribe for more calming stories, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts or favorite moments from our embroidered tapestry. Your support helps our community grow. Stitch by peaceful stitch. As the night deepens and the world outside quiets, may you find rest, comfort, and perhaps a bit of wonder in the stories we've shared. Thank you for dreaming with me. Good night. And may your sleep be soft and your dreams filled with gentle light.